I am your host, Wheelchair Rick. Thank you for following me, Tyler and Zach. We're going to have to switch that. It's no longer Christmas time. I got my Christmas stuff up. But today we bring you another special guest. Oh, wait a minute. I knew something was going to be wrong. We got to switch this audio, I think.
Uh-oh.
Yep, here we go. Got it. There we go. All right. Welcome to another Wheelchair Wednesday. Today we bring you a special guest all the way from Michigan, just like me. But before we get to him, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Shall we? Welcome to Wheelchair Wednesday. All right, everybody, let's welcome to the program Mr. Shannon Kortman. What is going on, my friend?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. I know it's been a while since I've been out here in Michigan. I mean, you're with me here, so we just went through like the crazy storm. Everybody did, pretty much on this side of the country.
Very much.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of big snow, but we got some snow. We got enough snow to make it to where it's a pain in the ass to be in a wheelchair.
Tell me about it. Oh, man.
Yep. So whereabouts in Michigan are you? I'm kind of like right in the middle down here.
Oh, there you go. I'm from the western end of Michigan.
Oh, you're way over here then, huh? Somewhere?
Oh, yeah. I'm right there.
Nice.
I'm like, yeah.
I like doing that. I like holding up the hand and showing people where I'm from.
It's the easiest way to explain it. It really is.
Yep. Can't do it no other way, really. It's a true Michigander thing. So because you have Spinabifida and you're not technically like a SCI, I can't like ask you questions about, if you can go back to the day of the accident, would you switch it or would you know what I mean? Because it's like you were born that way.
Right.
So we're going to kind of go based on that, and we're just going to kind of wing it.
Yep.
So, with that being said, my number one question that I start out with normally for people is how'd it happen? So you were born with it. Kind of give us a run through of like how you grew up and like, when you found out and kind of what, how that all happened.
It's going to sound weird saying nice, but that's the nice thing about being born with it. But by the time you're old enough to understand, life is already normal for you. Like you're already, as a baby, you're still crawling around. Granted, I army crawled because I have no use of my legs, but like army crawled when I started getting to be about the age that quote unquote most toddlers would have started walking. They got me fitted for a wheelchair. So I got my first chair when I was about 2 years old. I'm 34, fixing to be 35 here in June. So literally for over 30 years, I've been in a chair. I don't know any other way of life.
Right.
So,
this is your life. Yeah.
This is normal for me. And so my parents, another thing to note about me, I'm adopted.
Okay.
My biological mom, I hold no animosity towards her. She did the right thing in putting me up for adoption because she was in no way, shape, or form being as respectful as I can, because she is still the woman that gave birth to me. She was in no position to care for someone of my situation.
Right.
She was living the hard life. She was doing drugs. She was out, alcoholism. I mean, just not conducive for a mom. And I say
totally
that
get
carefully. I don't judge. I don't judge. But that's just, she did the right thing in giving me up. And so the family that took me, my mom and dad, they actually, by God's grace, did foster care for medically fragile, special needs, however you want to label it, feeding tubes, bedridden, wheelchair bound, just both mentally and physical, more physical disability than mental.
Right.
But with the ones that we had at our house, a lot of them were both physically and mentally disabled just because of certain situations that happened in their lives too. We had, a few that suffered brain damage as babies, and with the brain, with the spine, that's all connected. So I mean, if you've got severe brain damage, more often than not, you're gonna have some sort of physical limitations.
Right.
So there was all kinds of different, all across the spectrum. My parents took care of, and so when I was 5 weeks old, I spent the first 5 weeks of my life in the hospital having surgeries on my back because when I was born, I had an open back that had to be, corrected. I had a huge kyphosis, which is a huge knot. It's basically how I describe my spina bifida because there are different forms. My spina bifida is the most severe form where the spine it formed all the way down, but it did not form correctly all the way down. So at the base of the spine, it was basically in a ball. It was in a snarled knot.
Oh
That's what
man.
caused the paralysis.
Right.
So when I was little, I had that. I looked like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, except the hump was a little bit further down. It wasn't up on my shoulder like in the cartoon, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how I explain it to when I'm going around because I do some public speaking on the side. When I go around to like different churches, um, because I do like youth groups, different schools. When I'm dealing with kids, especially younger kids, that's the way I explain it, just to kind of give them a picture. Because most kids, if you're 5 years old and up, most kids know Hunchback of Notre Dame. So
Yeah.
you give them that analogy, they're going to understand the picture.
Well, you've noticed lately they've done away with all that. Like all of our childhood stuff, they're starting to get it rid of because it's
Oh,
not
get me started
PC.
on
You
that.
know
I
what I
am so
mean?
mad.
Yeah.
They're either getting rid of it or they're changing it. And I'm
Changing it,
like,
right?
don't. Or they're coming up with all these live actions. That's a topic for another day. I could talk for hours on these live actions. I mean, some of them are okay. Like, The Lion King. I'm a '90s baby, so I was a Lion King kid.
Right.
Lion King and Toy Story. Those are the two movies of my childhood you don't stinking mess with.
Right.
That being said, the Lion King live action remake was not awful. Wasn't my favorite, but it was not by far the worst one. So I'm okay with it. But some of them I'm like, and there was talk, actually talked about Hunchback of Notre Dame, getting back to that. There was talk that they're going to do a live action remake of that. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to see a live action because that one, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how are they
Yeah.
gonna
I
do
think it's
that
like,
one?
man, you just leave it be as it is. I mean, maybe
Some of them just leave them alone.
you could probably do a remake of a movie, like a Hollywood movie,
Right.
like a super
I mean, they do
duper
those
dope
all the
movie.
time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um.
You know.
So before we get too wrapped up in the nostalgia, because we could go all day on that.
We could go. Oh yeah.
Let me ask you about your pet peeves. What's your biggest pet peeve about being in the chair?
Snow. Right now, my biggest pet peeve is snow. I don't even have to think about it. I am, y'all. I am. I'm very much on the fence with the snow. I like looking at the snow when I'm inside my house, sitting on the couch with a cup of coffee. That's what I always tell people. But the minute I have to go outside in this stuff, you better get ready to hear me grumble because I'm going to grumble the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And anybody who knows me knows God is a big part of my life. God has been good to me. He has granted me so many things. So that being said, I try not to grumble. I try not to complain because I've always looked at it. I could have it way worse, and especially compared to, some of the kids that my parents took in, like I said, that were bedridden and had this and had that. I could be way worse off. So I really have nothing to grumble about. But yeah, that being said, I got to get out in the snow. I'm going to grumble.
Right.
And I'm going to grumble until I get back home. But aside from that, I think my biggest pet peeve when it comes to wheelchairs, I think the common misconception, and I say common carefully because it's not always like I haven't seen it a whole lot in my life, which I'm very thankful for. But the misconception that just because you're physically disabled, that also must mean you're mentally disabled.
Yeah,
Like,
I've seen that
yes,
too.
there
People
are
kind of look at
situations.
you weird, yeah, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know."
There are situations where they go hand in hand, unfortunately, but at the same time, just because you have one does not necessarily automatically mean you have the other.
Right.
Because, like I said, getting back to my childhood, I lived, by God's grace, a fairly normal life. I went to school, hated every minute of it because, what kid doesn't hate school? I went and did school normally. I graduated on time. I almost didn't, but that was more my own laziness than mental capability. But I
Right.
graduated on time. I graduated in 2009. Um, I did a semester of college and said, you know what, it's not really for me. I thought about going back a handful of times. I think it is good, but it's not for everybody, But I've lived a fairly normal life, and so just because I'm handicapped physically doesn't mean there's something wrong up here, you know.
Right.
So
So,
I would say that's my biggest pet peeve.
um, just so me and also the listeners and viewers are kind of aware. So your typical and spina bifida is just like SCI. It ranges all kinds of different ways. There's all kinds of different injuries that go along with spina bifida, I'm sure. Um, so you are paralyzed from the pretty much what,
From
like
the waist
waist
down,
down? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, so you're using a manual chair or
I have
electric
both.
chair? Okay.
I use my manual chair 90% of my day. The only time I really use my power chair is to get to different fishing spots because I love going hunting and fishing. So where I live in a condo and there's a pond, man-made pond in the backyard, and which in and of itself, no problem. Except the backyard goes a little bit of an incline, a decent incline, and it's all grassy. Well, and anybody listening who is in a wheelchair knows grass is one thing.
Right.
Grass, I can go through grass all day long. Grass on a hill,
Yeah, it's a little bit
good
tougher.
luck.
Yeah. You
Good
already
luck.
know. You look at it and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no. It's like, no, because you do one wrong thing and you're just going to tumble. And
Right.
that tumble would result in me going swimming, and I don't want to do that.
Nope. Not to mention to your
So, yeah.
machine. I mean, the electric wheelchairs are, especially if you're on one of those, you tip one of those over. I mean, normally they're pretty, tough, but
If you tip one of those over, you are doing something stupid.
yeah,
I'm
you break
sorry.
one of those,
I'm
yeah,
just going to be blunt.
yeah.
Because those things at its lightest, I think I had one that was maybe 200 pounds at its lightest. My heaviest one, the one I have now, is probably 700 pounds. Because no,
Damn.
it's probably about 500 pounds. Because it's got two batteries in there that are about 100, yeah, about 50 pounds each. So two batteries, 100 pounds, and then the chair, the rest of the chair itself is 350. So yeah, over
Damn.
450 pounds probably. So I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm tipping that thing over, I'm doing something I ain't not to be doing, and somebody ought to be taking it away from me.
Right. Um, let me ask you this: what's your biggest fear about life in the chair?
My biggest fear, I would say tipping over, but I've tipped over so many times, I'm used to it. My biggest fear about life in a chair, I think, is really kind of going back to the common misconceptions. Is just that whether it's that I have not done a good job explaining my situation or life in a chair or whatever. But my biggest fear is that those misconceptions will kind of always exist, and like people in my situations will kind of always be misunderstood.
Right.
And it's like it's just no way to live. You know.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What about the dating married question?
Dating. I did date. I've had a couple relationships that they obviously they're ex relationships. Currently single, not so much because of the wheelchair. It just kind of just fizzled out. Wasn't meant to be. Which I fully believe. As a whole, I've always believed that God's got somebody out there for everybody. Now
Yeah.
there are certain situations. I mean, you choose to stay single. That's kind of your thing. Um, situations happen and you end up single for whatever reason. This life is not perfect, right? But for me, yeah, I fully hope it happens one day. And that's the other thing too. A lot of misconceptions, whether it's physical disability or otherwise. A lot of people think, oh, because you're in your mid 20s and you're single, it's never going to happen. Because you're in your mid 30s and you're single, it's never going to. Like, no, just it'll happen if it's meant to be. It'll happen when God wants it to happen.
Yeah, you
You
never know,
know,
man. You hear about people all the time in their 40s, 50s, even 60s finding
exactly.
love and like settling down.
Exactly. I mean, it can happen at any age. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, you gotta
You
want it
know,
too,
and
though. I
so
mean, you gotta want it, but I think that the trick too of it is you can't be always on the hunt for it, because if you're always on the hunt for it,
right.
you're gonna miss it. It's always comes to you when you're never least expecting it.
And if you're on the hunt for it, sometimes
You're gonna get the
you
wrong one.
end up exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you. Yep,
Hmm.
you can end up with the wrong one. You know, and for me, after a certain point, yeah, it was. I don't want to say at the forefront of my brain, but it was pretty up there. You know, and after a certain point, you just got to pray that okay, Lord, let this be put aside. You know, I've got other things in my life that you want me to focus on. Let me focus on those.
Hmm.
You know, whether it's work, whether it's my family, you know, whether it's getting me personally getting my YouTube stuff off the ground, which has proved to be very difficult.
Yeah, that's not
And as
easy. I'm still on YouTube and I've
it's
been doing it for
not.
years, dude. And it's like, I mean, at least I figured it out now, but it's like, if you're trying to make a living off YouTube or whatever, it's like, good luck. Unless you're like some kind
Well,
of
see,
OF
and that's the
model.
thing. Once you get it, I watch so many different guys that are hunting, fishing, whatever else. Once they got it going, they're doing great. I mean, they're able to fully support themselves and their
What are you looking to help for?
spouses
I
and
mean,
their.
what are you looking to get going on it? What can't you figure out?
Oh, my thing really. I mean, it's not even so much that. If I'm being honest, it's more just. I mean, content creating because I do a lot of hunting and fishing, like I've said, and like I'll continue to say throughout this episode.
Mm-hmm. He's a
So
hunting
for
and fishing.
me, I'm big into hunting and fishing. And for me, the hunting and fishing sidestep a little bit real quick. For me, the hunting and fishing is not just a hobby, but it's a way of saying to the world, "Look what I can do," and not me, but look what I can do because of what God has allowed me to do.
Right, right. Well,
You
kind
know,
of giving them
and
hope.
so
Like, even though you might be like me, doesn't mean that you can't do what I'm doing because I did it.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. Because as a kid, I grew up. I grew up fishing. I'm an old hat at fishing. Me and my daddy used to go fishing, and my mama too when I was a kid. So fishing is no big deal. You get out of the trailer, you sit on the boat, or if you're sitting on a dock, so be it. But hunting, that was always a tricky one, and it was interesting for me because I didn't grow up in the hunting community. My uncles went hunting. I got a couple cousins that go hunting, but for me, it was something that always intrigued me. But it was one of those things of how would I even get it going. And then my sister started dating this guy, and they're now since married 20 plus years later. And he grew up in a hunting family. And so him and I would talk, and how can we do this, blah blah blah, yada yada. And then skip ahead a number of years later, I met a gentleman who was also in a wheelchair, grew up hunting and fishing, and the Lord used him to influence my life and get me into the hunting community. And so, since then, I do deer, I do turkey, I've done bear a couple different times already in Michigan and in Canada most recently.
Nice.
And God put it on my heart. Oh, dude, yeah, I tell you what. If we have time, I'll talk about that
Well,
too.
we're gonna get to
Um,
hobbies, so we'll cover that when we get to that point.
Perfect. So yeah, so I mean, for the YouTube thing, yeah, that's it's a hobby, but it's one of those that I want to use it to inspire people. So for me, what what am I having trouble getting off the ground is just my own attention span because it's like
Oh,
I
I
get
hear
all
you.
these different ideas, but I also work, full time, but well, full time between two part-time jobs.
Right.
Um, so it's like, my thing is really buckling down, coming up with ideas of what to do,
Yep.
and yeah, being in a wheelchair with the snow, a
Oh
lot of
man.
these guys, they're going out camping, they're going, ice fishing, stuff like that. And I've been ice fishing before. It ain't easy, but it's doable. But
I'm
yeah,
not one
you,
for
you
cold.
get,
I would suck at fishing, and I'm not really a fisherman, and I don't like seafood. So that's that. I've never really
Mhm.
got into the whole fisherman, like even like the ice fishing. Oh man, my buddies try to talk it up like it was so much fun. Like, come on, bro, we're in a shanty, we're drinking
no,
beers, we're smoking.
no,
Come on, man. I'm like,
no,
nah, I'm good.
it's not as fun as it's cracked up to be. I've had fun, yes, but it's more fun for me to sit in my t-shirt on the dock or in a boat
Right.
in 70, 80-degree weather
Yep.
with, a bottle of water or a bottle of soda and go fishing that way. I
Mm-hmm.
ain't freezing and especially because with my disability being the way it is, surgeries I've had, I've actually got metal in my back to straighten out my spine. So metal on your spine,
And cold, yeah.
and you get the cold weather that Michigan has had this year equals holy cow, no thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
So no,
I hear you
I went
there.
ice fishing a few times, and then I said, you know what, guys, it's been fun, but I'm done.
I
I'm done.
right now I'm currently in the wheelhouse, which is toasty 56 degrees. I've had the heater on for
Oh, you
about an
lucky
hour and a
bum! I'm
half.
coming over.
Um, well, it's thankfully we had viewers that have participated and helped us buy this lovely garage heater, but when you turn it on an hour before you come out here, you get what you get.
Right?
It's getting there. It's getting there. It'll get up to 60, 70 or later on, probably when
I
we're
mean,
all
hey,
toasty.
even 50s is good compared to what is it now, 20,
Yeah,
25?
no, it was it's like
Boy,
it was cold earlier. It's like 24, 25. Let me ask you this: what's one thing that you wish you could do that you've never been able to?
you know, I've been asked that before, and still to this day I cannot come up with an answer. And I tell you what, by God's grace, have been able to do everything that I've ever wanted.
Right.
I have done now. Okay, now, okay. Oh, let me back up. Let me back up because now my brain is thinking. Okay, if we're talking like extreme, there, um, bungee jumping. Obviously, I've seen different things on YouTube. I've heard different stories. I know it is doable. Me personally, I can't say that I'd want to,
Oh, that'd
but
be scary. I wouldn't do it.
skydiving. Now, and I know at some point one of my buddies who likes to do things with me is going to see this episode, and I'm going to end up kicking myself because he's going to come up with ideas. But going skydiving would be scary as crud, but it'd be interesting. So if I had to say one thing, it would probably be that because that would be interesting to try to do that. But I mean, anything else I've ever wanted to do, like I said, hunting, fishing, I've gotten to do that. I've gotten to fly in an airplane, going to different states for vacation, visiting a friend, whatever. I've gotten to fly in a helicopter before. Um, yeah, so I'm in, like I said, by God's grace, I've gotten to do pretty much everything I've ever wanted.
Right. Yeah. Luckily, you got a way to look at it like that too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you kind of train your mind scope to that's like where you're at. Um,
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this: what about your pain levels? You said you got metal in your back. And do you ever feel pain at all?
There are days it is, I won't say excruciating, but there are days I feel it. But as a whole, like right now, surprisingly enough, I'm good. I'm just in a hoodie and my shirt underneath, and I'm not wearing too many extra layers, although I probably should. I'm not
Yeah, it is
doing
Michigan.
anything really to, exactly. After a certain point, you get used to it. But I'm just in normal clothes, if you will, and it's I have no pain. Now there were days, a couple weeks ago when we had like negative 20-degree temperatures. Yeah, you get outside for 5 minutes, and I mean anybody can say it, you're in pain. Um, the arthritis in your shoulder, or for me, the metal in my back. That wind gets to it, and you're just like, okay, your whole back just kind of locks up, and you're like,
Yeah. Oh
get me
man,
somewhere
you're
warm
just
quick.
yeah. It's like your muscle goes into automatic hyperthermic lock mode,
Yep,
locking your shit back. Yep.
yep.
Um, what about what is the one thing that's helped you the most throughout all this? Throughout like growing up like that and just you know what I mean?
I think other than the my faith, and it's by not by my own. My parents raised me in church and to have faith and taught me about the Lord. So definitely, I would say my faith has gotten me through a lot.
Right.
But I always tell people to, aside from that, surrounding yourself with people, and not just people, because you can try. Go to the store, you'll surround yourself with 100 people inside of 5 seconds, right? You want to surround yourself with good people.
Yep.
You want to surround yourself with people, and good could mean so many different things. There's so many different people, but you want to surround yourself with supportive people. People that, not to say that they're going to coddle you, but if you have a desire or a dream, a goal, they're going to help you achieve it if it's possible.
All right, or at least
If
support you in your wanting to do so, right?
exactly. Even if they don't think it's possible to support you, hey, you know what? If you think you
Now
can
that's
do
what
it,
you want,
go
right?
for it. You
Yep,
know.
yep.
No, I mean, if you're being stupid about it, hopefully you got friends that'll come and smack you in the back of the head and say, "Snap out of it, you idiot."
Mm-hmm.
Because you need those too.
Yep,
You're
we do.
not that they're naysayers, but they're realists.
Oh yeah.
And so you got to have a good
You'd be
balance of
lucky
both.
to have a couple, yeah, of those people that smack you in the back of the head, because sometimes we all need a little smack in the back of the head.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm no better than the next man. There are times, whether it's because I'm being dumb and trying to accomplish something, or whether I'm being lazy or feeling sorry for myself, which I try not to do too much of.
Right.
But every once in a while, somebody's got to come along and be like, "Hey, snap out of it." Like, all right, I get it.
All right.
So that's what's gotten me through. People. And I've always maintained the motto, and I don't remember where I heard it, but it has helped me my whole life long. God puts certain people in your life at certain times for certain reasons, and to expand on that, some people you keep throughout your entire life, 30, 40, 50 plus years. Some they're only here for a season, a
All right.
year or two, Some it may only be one encounter. And I've had so many of those where it's just one encounter, a conversation, you come away thinking for the next couple of weeks, and your outlook changes, or hopefully their outlook changes because of something that you said, but then you don't know because you've never seen them before again,
Right.
or you've never seen them after. And so you get those too. But yeah, that's I've always believed people come into your life for a reason.
Absolutely. I believe the same thing. And there's been so many friendships and kind of just like acquaintanceships and just different people that I've met along the way just doing these. You know what I mean? Because like when somebody like say you go to get your YouTube going, I'm gonna help you out, dude. I'm gonna throw you out. I'm gonna shout your name out. Hopefully my viewers will go check your shit out, and then that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, if you climb up a ladder, you're supposed to reach down and help the next person up, not to pull the ladder up. You know what I mean?
Right. We're all here to help each other. That's what God put us on this earth to do.
Right, for sure. So it's a good way to look at it. What about your fitness and diet? I know, we all suck at that. I suck at that. I just got done eating freaking KFC Famous Bowl minus the chicken. Not that that makes it any better.
Next question. No, I'm just kidding. I am a meat and potatoes kind of guy. I cannot stand veggies. I will be honest. I can almost hear all the boos and the naysayers right now, half of which will be my family.
Mm-hmm.
I do I eat healthy? I would say I do. I don't eat a lot of junk food. That's my thing too. Like, I'm not huge on sweets. I'll have, the occasional chocolate chip cookie, or okay, you put a bowl of ice cream in front of me, I will wolf that down.
Mm-hmm. I feel like junk food was a lot funner back when we were younger, like teenagers, and I mean, plus I bet you back then it wasn't filled with so many poisonous additives. You know what I mean?
Right. Nowadays, I'm good. And I think just the older you get, your taste buds change a little bit, and I was more into sweets when I was a kid. Not that I was, a candy fiend, but I definitely had more sweets then than I do now. And so, I would say compared to where I was, I would say I eat healthy. Like I said, meat and potatoes, the occasional veggie. If I've got to have something,
right?
Just to make sure I get my veggies. My biggest thing is water. I don't, and I'll be the first one to admit this. I don't drink near enough water. I know
none of us do, Shannon. None of us do.
I am a coffee and soda drinker, and I have been. I mean, coffee pretty much my entire adult life. Soda since I was a teenager. Staying up late for homework and whatever else. But and that's just a habit that I've never been able to kick. Never tried hard enough to kick.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Shannon. I've heard and done a lot more habits worse than drinking soda. I'll tell you that. Definitely not one of the worst things you can be addicted to.
I know there's definitely worse out there, and and that's the thing for me too. Like, because of my situation being the way it started with drugs and alcohol being introduced into my system when I was in the womb, I've just kind of chosen to stay away from that, and that's again, that's by God's grace giving me the strength to stay away from that, and
Right.
I say that very carefully because again, I don't judge those that drink. I don't care if you drink. Like, as long as you're not being stupid, and going out drunk driving or whatever else,
Right.
that's where I have the issue. But you're at a wedding, you have a glass of champagne as a toast, whoopee through. You're at a restaurant, you're having a couple beers with your pizza, okay, hang out, be safe about it. Don't go get in your car right away and drive,
Yep, because then you'll end up
but
putting somebody through the back window like me.
right, or exactly, my
Yep.
buddy Doug, who I mentioned earlier, he was I don't know if he was hit by a drunk driver, but he was in a car accident that threw him from his car, and that's how he ended up paralyzed. Um, so I mean, it's moderation, it's safety, it's as long as you're not being dumb with it, I don't care. It's your life,
Right.
But me personally, I will have a drink, if I'm not that it happens really, because again, that's just something that I've chosen to stay away from personally, But if I do a little sip of somebody else's drink, hey, this is really good. Give it a try. Okay, I'll give it a try.
Right.
I might not drink the whole thing myself. I might just take a little sip, say, hey, this is really good, but the rest is yours.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
I was born an alcohol syndrome baby, so like my whole life growing up, my grandparents and always told me, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. So
Yeah,
what's the first thing I did? Went out and I tried to
drink.
drink. I didn't like it at first, but then like after I turned like 15, 16, everybody was kind of doing it, and that was the thing to do at the time. So I just kind of indulged in
Yeah.
it. And then by the time I was old enough to drink, I started going crazy, and I just kind of let it get to the best of me. So anywhere I went, I had to, if we're not drinking, it's not fun for me. I wanted to have a beer or
Right.
something, you know what I mean? So it got to the point where then I got in trouble, and then I had to do these PBTs every day, and then I was still drinking while doing the PBTs. Like, it was bad, man. Before my accident,
Yeesh.
yeah, like I prayed to God to come into my life and change my life, and 4 days later is when I got my accident. So, you know what I mean? Take it how you will, but it's like,
Right.
you get what you pray for, I guess. Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, because a lot of people. I'm going to preach just a little bit. I am by no means a minister. I thought about going to school for it, but that's not where I went with my life. But I've always told people too that just because you pray for a certain thing, God will answer your prayers, but that does not mean He will answer it the exact way we want.
right, right, right.
But that doesn't mean He didn't answer it.
Hmm.
You just got to look, and sometimes you don't see it right away. Sometimes it takes months before. Oh yeah, sure enough, He did give me exactly what I prayed for. It just wasn't how I expected. You
Right,
know.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's all about perspective and the way you look at things. And, it's almost like when you wake up in the morning and you have a shitty mood and you're really in a crappy day, you want to be mean and you're mad and you're angry, you're going to get that for all day long. That's what
Oh
you're
yeah,
putting out, that's what you're going to get. But if you wake
that's what
up
you're
and
gonna
you're in a
get.
happy mood and you're good, you're glad to be alive and you're going to have a better day, period. Even if you are in
Yeah,
pain, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the memories that can be made, the pain doesn't exist in the memories. You know what I mean? That's what I've
yeah.
noticed.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Dang, we went far and deep into the world of theocracy right there, Shannon. That was nice. Um, last couple
That's
questions
what
for
happens when
you.
you put me on your show.
Right. What type of charity you got? And do you have a name for it?
The one thing I've never done is name my chair. I thought about it, but then, you know, attention, you start thinking about other stuff and then you forget what you're talking about. But, yeah, I've got just a basic, Quickie 2 is the brand. I've always had the Quickies. I had the original Quickie wheelchair back in the 90s when I was a kid. That one lasted me, golly, that thing lasted me all the way through just about all the way through high school. And then I got this little aluminum chair, which it was nice because it was lightweight. The thing itself was probably only 20 pounds. So you pick it up with one hand. I mean, if you're a discus thrower, you could probably pick that chair up and throw it a country mile.
Right.
It was so light. But the only problem with that is with it being so light, you hit every crack, every hole,
Oh
every
yeah.
whatever in the pavement. You
Yep.
could run over a quarter and tell what side of the quarter you just ran over.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit a decent sized little gap in the concrete, you're going forward.
I never thought about that. Sometimes the heavier chairs actually help move you better around the world.
Yep. They're harder to transport because the heavier chairs don't always fold up. Like mine doesn't fold up. I mean, it folds up, but you gotta like strip it down to like the bare frame,
It's like a
and then
rigid,
it'll
right?
fold up. The rigid, right, right. Otherwise, it stays rigid. So like, that's an inconvenience. And I say that carefully. It's never really been an inconvenience for me. It's more of an inconvenience for anybody before I started driving myself. It was more of an inconvenience for anybody that had to transport me. If they had a smaller vehicle, we had to either like turn my chair on its side or take the wheels off, or like I said, strip it down completely to fold it up to, transport it. So,
Right.
the heavier chairs, they're inconvenience in that sense, but they're a lot safer because they'll go a lot easier on the pavement, on the grass, gravel. These lighter chairs, you're you're better off just leaving it in the house.
Right.
Like, otherwise you're gonna get cooked somewhere. It's like that's the way it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of what I think about that.
Let me
But
ask you. Let me ask you
um
this. Now, this is going to be the. I think it's the most important piece of advice. Is why I should save it for last. So, the most important piece of advice that you can give to somebody who is like either newly injured or they're just kind of like young and they're like trying to figure out, life and they maybe have something like you. And what would your advice be
yep.
to those people?
My advice would be threefold. Never give up. Surround yourself with good people. And if you have a relationship with the Lord, lean on that. And if not, I encourage you to, seek out a local church. If you know a minister or you're friends with somebody that goes to church, pick their brain, ask them questions. Go to the thrift store, pick up a Bible, start reading. And I say that not, as a I'm better than you because of that. No, 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 no. I know I'm not. I'm me. I am just as broken as the next man. I am just as imperfect. I am just as guilty as this, that, or the other thing as anybody else. But the Lord definitely has helped me in my situation. And so, yeah, I would say don't give up. There are going to be hard days. And I think for people that have spinal cord injuries, the hard days are going to come more than for someone in my situation who was born with it. Because, like I said at the beginning, if you're born with it,
That's
you
all
don't
you
know any
know.
other way.
Right. That's all you
That is
know.
all you know. I've known the wheelchair life since I was 2 years old, but for someone who is, say 16 or older, and they've been able to walk, they've had a quote unquote normal life, and then all of a sudden that gets taken away, and now they're confined to a wheelchair or they're
Yeah.
an amputee or they're whatever. The hard days are going to be different. They're going to look different, and they're going to probably be more than the hard days that I've had.
Right.
And when those hard days come, they're going to knock you on your butt. The key is to not stay there.
Yep.
Don't stay there. It's like falling off a horse or falling off a bike. You got to get right back up. Because if you allow those days to beat you down and keep you down, that's all that's going to happen. Those hard days are just going to keep beating you down until you say enough is enough.
You got to laugh in the
You know?
face of adversity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's another good one.
That's right, Mr. Shannon Kortman, everybody. Now, before we leave here, Shannon, still stay with me.
Yep.
And we're going to talk to you here afterwards. Now, if you have anything that you'd like to promote, we're going to put that down in the description. Maybe just like a Facebook page or something we'll throw on there for now,
Yeah,
unless you have a
actually,
YouTube or
my
whatever.
Yeah, my Facebook page and my YouTube both. Anyone can outdoors, and that name actually didn't even come from me. When I first started this social media influencer, whatever you want to call it, idea I had, I posted a poll on my main page. And feel free, Shannon Kortman is my main. I think my main is connected to my outdoor page. So look me up that way. Feel free to add me on any of them. All my socials are kind of linked together. But I had posted a poll. I've been doing this about 7 or 8 years now. I'm a little slow at it, but I put a poll out and just asked for ideas. Hey, I want to start this Facebook page. Posting my adventures. Inspiring people, doing public speaking, this, that, and the other. Whatever comes of it. What name should I give it? And a lot of people said, well, name it after you. Go Shannon's Outdoors Adventures, or go Kortman Outdoors, or something like that. And so I said, well, okay, here's the thing. This is what I want with my page. Is yes, it'll be me taking my GoPro and my phone out on the water, out in the woods, filming my adventures, but it's not going to be for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want Shannon's Outdoor Adventures. Yes, that would have sounded so cool, and part of me is still thinking that would have sounded cool, but like
I like Anyone Can Outdoors. I like that. It's over encompassing.
Exactly, that's more encompassing, and that puts the focus then on literally anyone can do, and it's not just about hunting and fishing. It's hunting and fishing for me because that's my passion. That's what the Lord has allowed me to do.
Right.
But for somebody else, it might be climbing Mount Everest. It might be rock climbing. It might be bungee jumping. It might be traveling the world in on a bike. Whatever the case.
Yep.
And so Anyone Can Outdoors. Oh, hey, okay. If he can do it, and that's my motto with the page. If by God's grace, because there again, for me, it's all about God.
Right.
Will always be about God. If by God's grace, a guy in a wheelchair can do it, anyone can do it.
Anyone can. That's right. All right, Shannon will stick with me. We're going to talk to you here in a minute. Everybody else, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. If you haven't listened or you're watching and you want to listen, check us out on any podcast stuff, Spotify. You can even ask your Alexa, hey Alexa, play the latest Wheelchair Rick, and it'll pop up. We're out there, man. Let us know. Leave a comment in the description box to win a free ½ ounce of silver coming up. That's for everybody listening at the very end. Nobody knew about that. That's a brand new thing. All right, Shannon, stay with me, and we'll see you. And then everybody else, we'll see you next time. See you. Peace. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, absolutely.